Alright, what's up guys, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. So before we get into the mail day today, I just wanted to say thank you everyone for 750 subscribers. We hit that since the last time I posted a video. I wasn't necessarily planning on doing anything, but I figured since it's actually been a while since the 500 subscriber special, that was a Q&A, might as well do another one of those. So we're going to have a 750 subscriber Q&A. If you guys want to leave any questions down in the comments below, those will be included in the Q&A, and I'll also take questions on Instagram. They can be about anything you want, but ideally centered around the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG would be good. So yeah, with that being said, let's get right into the mail day we've got. This is a huge collection I picked up from the same seller I've already had a couple of collections from in the past. We had a mail day with promos in it a few months back. And another one last year with like complete old school sets. So this is all of the rest of the LOB to AST foils that the seller had. It's a huge number of cards. I think it's probably over 1,000 foils, and then there's actually like bulk commons and rares as well. But we won't have the time to go through that, so we're just going to go through the holos, and we may not go through all of them depending on how long it's taking. But yeah, starting with LOB, she didn't have any first edition LOB left, so this is all unlimited stuff. With LOB, it's always cool to look at the slight variations in prints when you have multiples of a card. So like here's a few different Gaias. And you just see like the subtly different shades, darkness of text and stuff like that. I don't think any of the unlimited LOB was wavy or glossy. And most of it's not in the best shape either. It's kind of like LP, I guess, on average. Some worse, and then a few near mint as well. Which is similar for the whole collection. The majority of this stuff is like very mixed. So maybe 1/3 of it is pack fresh, another third of it is like light play near mint, and then the final third will be MP, some even heavy play, damaged. It's pretty much all original. I think this Dark Hole is literally the only reprint card in the entire lot. So I don't know how that got in there, because the seller stopped collecting a long time before 2017. But I assume they maybe bought a card to complete a set or something like that. Or maybe they opened a Legendary Collection Game Board Edition for a bit of fun. Here's a cool difference. You guys can see these are both Dark Hole spell cards, but this is a reprint and this is actually an original print, or at least a 2003 print. This is what you get out of the 2003 tins. So yeah, just a bunch of repeats. The majority of these cards that we're going to go through in this video will be for sale at some point. There's a 1.5 print trapple there with a bit of a fade. I just picked up all of the stuff because the seller wanted to get rid of it in one go. And they were willing to give me a better price as well if I did that. So yeah, some of the cards, especially the first edition cards, I will keep. And either way, I need to kind of sort them for condition before I start actually deciding what to sell, what I'm going to grade, and then the few things I'm going to keep. But yeah, I'll get around to that probably in the next few days, and then there might be some sales starting early next week or something like that. This left arm has a little bit of a name shift, but nothing too crazy. Now obviously when you buy this many cards, and they're kind of all unsorted, I guess you could say, like the seller wasn't really too bothered about looking through cards for detailed condition, especially on the unlimited stuff. You're always going to get a few different misprints and things like that. So this is the MRD stack, and we're starting off with two very cool misprints I spotted when I was just quickly unpacking this stuff. So both of these are foil shifts. You guys can see they have, I don't know if they're from the same box, but they definitely have a very similar downward foil shift, about maybe like 3 millimeters, something like that. So yeah, always very cool to see with the kind of shadow effect you get on an old school foil shift. I didn't buy these as foil shifts. The seller just didn't realize there was anything different about them. So definitely a very nice surprise when opening it up. And I assume, to be honest, there are probably more misprints in here that I haven't spotted yet, just because it's so many foils. I haven't really had the chance to look through them in detail. You can see here's some first edition MRD. Now, most of the stuff is unsleeved. It didn't actually come unsleeved. It came in like really dirty sleeves from 2002, 2003. So I took it right out of the sleeves, like every card unsleeved, as soon as I got the collection in. And then I'll go through and penny sleeve them at some point. I couldn't be bothered to go do it before making the video because it's a lot of sleeves. But this one's in a sleeve because I noticed this looked like a PSA 10 right off the bat. So yeah, there's a handful of first edition MRD and then a bunch of unlimited. And the way it works for the unlimited sets, aside from LOB that we've already seen, is there's a full unlimited complete set, which includes the commons and rares, and then there's a bunch of extras afterwards. So this is the full set. You can see the Gate Guardian has a bit of a fade going on. Most of them I think are not faded. There's a few ENs mixed in. Here's an MRD EN Kazajin. With the complete sets, I kind of need to look for imprint condition because on the whole, the cards in the complete sets are mintier than the loose hollows. So I'm not sure if I'm going to grade some of them or if I'm just going to sell them as like complete near mint sets and then sell the other stuff raw. I just haven't had the time to look over it yet and make that decision. There's another MRD EN. But most of this stuff is just regular OG print. So that's the end of the MRD set. And then the rest of it's just like random extras. Again, very varied condition. I think some of these might even be Euro prints, which is pretty interesting because I don't know how a seller in the US would have got Euro prints back in the day. But I guess it goes to show the product would sometimes move around from continent to continent. These are probably worth a bit, these Change of Hearts, because this came off the ban list the other day. So I should get around to selling those sooner rather than later. Because the way it always works, especially with a card like this, where it's probably not even going to be relevant in the meta anymore, it still spikes way up when it gets unbanned. And then within a few weeks, people realize that there's actually no difference whether it was banned or not. And it goes right back down to the price it was at before. Same thing for Yada, that came off the ban list a couple of days ago. Pretty iconic card to come off the ban list because I think that was on the very first ban list ever made. And then obviously back in the day it was way too powerful to get unbanned, but I mean the modern TCG I have very little understanding of, but the level of like power increase in the cards is just crazy. The long effects they have and everything like that. So I can understand that even a card like Yada isn't powerful anymore. That Magic Jammer's got a bit of a fade to it. I'm actually looking for an unlimited Magic Jammer for my faded set because I only have a like first edition copy to match the rest of the faded set, which is unlimited. But this one, to be honest, isn't quite faded enough to make a good match with the rest of my set. So I will probably just sell that. Yeah, getting towards the end of the MRD. This one's pretty nice. That's a better fade, I think, than any of the other Metal Raider stuff. You can really see the difference between the color of the guy's clothes in the faded copy and then the regular one where it's more like a red. Yeah, and then there are some reverse foils. So first off, there's a kind of foil bleed unlimited, and then next to it we have a reverse foil Thousand Dragon. I believe that's one of the easier to find reverse foils. Generally, the hobby secrets tend to be much rarer. And then obviously for MRL, you don't even get the Blue Eyes Toon Dragon secret. Alright, so Magic Ruler is up next. Now there's an MRL-E Black Illusion Ritual to start, which I thought was pretty weird again. No idea how the seller got that. This actually looks gradable, which is pretty cool. I mean, I think the Spell Ruler First Edition hype has died down a lot compared to how it was a few years back. But even so, you honestly don't see many of those in like pack fresh condition. So it's a pretty cool find. Now, I think we have more first edition MRL than we did with Metal Raiders. Mostly the lower end cards, which I guess makes sense. Like the seller got a lot of their cards by opening packs themselves. So if you try to build a set like that, you'll usually end up with a bunch of extra supers and not many ultras. So that's the first ed. Now we've got the unlimited complete set. And the very cool thing here is that the Serpent Knight Dragon is actually faded. That's not one you see very often. So yeah, very cool. Oh yeah, and this, I noticed a bit of a misprint on this as well. Nothing too crazy, but the Eye of Anubis is pretty shifted down there. Yeah. aside from that, pretty normal MRL unlimited set. They all roll MRL and not like SRL or SRL yen or anything like that. I think the seller might have some SRL stuff, but I haven't picked that up yet. So was that? Yeah, I think we've reached the... Oh no, there's still a few more, yeah. This is still the complete set. And then from this point on, this is just random extras the seller had. I noticed, yeah, this... Check that condition out on this Axe of Despair. Absolutely destroyed. I think it maybe got water damaged, because it doesn't actually look that played on the surface. It's just annihilated around the edges. So it gives you an idea of the condition mix in here, because a lot of this stuff is PSA 10 like worthy, or at least a PSA 10 candidate. And then at the same time, you've got stuff like the Axe of Despair, just well inside the PSA 1 category. Here are some MRL spell cards. Again, like the Dark Hole that we looked at earlier, these are not reprints. You can also tell that here because they don't say SRL. They're just from the 2003 tins, which were printed after they changed from Magic to Spell, but before they changed the code from MRL to SRL. I believe the packs still say Magic Ruler as well, not Spell Ruler. So yeah, nothing too crazy here, just a bunch of unlimited Magic Ruler. I do know some people who invest in unlimited MRL rather than other unlimited sets, purely because the reprints have a different set code. So there will never be any more MRL printed, most likely. Whereas even with LOB, they're probably still going to make a bunch more reprints in the future. And even though you can tell the difference between an original LOB and a reprint pretty easily, the fact that they still have the same set code, I think, puts a lot of people off. So yeah, that's pretty much it for MRL. Just a bunch more supers at the back. The cards are not really sorted at the moment. Like, they're all over the place. There's a lot of different conditions mixed in together. So I'm going to have quite a bit of work over the next few days just sorting them out. But honestly, I find that pretty enjoyable to do, to sit down, maybe with some music, something like that, and just sort through cards for a few hours in an afternoon. It definitely is something that's satisfying to do once in a while. So here's the first edition PSV. Again, I think there's not that much compared to the Unlimited, and it's mostly just supers, but they are clean for the most part, so that's pretty cool. I think we have 7 backup soldiers. How many? 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, there is 7, yeah. 7 backup soldiers, which unfortunately is pretty much the worst foil in Pharaoh's Servant, but it is what it is. Still cool to see 7 of the same first set foil in the same place. Now this is a reverse Jinzo, which is one of the better reverse foils, and it's almost a little bit faded as well if I put it next to another PSV card, but it's definitely not enough to add any value. It's just kind of something you notice when you put them side by side. And now we're into the Unlimited set. So this is one of every holo. This is a PSV EN Buster Blader, which is pretty cool. Because from like after MRL or SRL, you can only get them from the MC1. So LOB, MRD, and MRL you get from Master Collection 1 packs and Forbidden Legacy. And I think even some boxes very occasionally were printed with EN cards. But for PSV, LON, LOD, those only come from Master Collection 1. So they're significantly harder to pull and to find in the wild. I'm not really a huge EN collector, to be honest. I much prefer collecting stuff like Wavy and Glossy Unlimited. But they're still cool. They definitely have their place in Yu-Gi-Oh! History with the different set code which never got reused. Here's a reverse foil Imperial Order to go with the Jinzo. And now these are the other just kind of extra loose cards from Pharaoh's Servant. I think there might actually be some more Imperial Orders at the back as well, or somewhere in the middle. Yeah, there you go. So those are, it's kind of hard to see. So that's a reverse, that's regular, and then another reverse, and then another regular foil. So to be honest, I feel like we don't really need to go through every single card. It is just repeats of the same stuff we've been looking at. But yeah, it's pretty crazy to see this quantity of stuff. I've spoken to the seller a fair amount over the past few months, just as a result of buying all the stuff. But to be honest, I still don't fully understand how they ended up with this kind of quantity of holos, especially in the unlimited. I guess they just kept on buying packs even after they had all of the cards they were looking for. So this is first at LON. This Masked Beast, unfortunately, I think is pretty rough. Yeah. I didn't have detailed condition reports of what the cards were going to be like before I bought them. So I was kind of hoping that some of these higher end first aid cards would work out in good condition. But it is what it is. For the price I paid, it was definitely fair overall. There's a bunch of near mint to mint stuff as well as the less good cards. So I'm definitely happy with the purchase. This is the LON complete set. And the coolest thing about this is at the back, once we get past the rest of the holos. Oh, actually, first off, there's a faded Last Warrior, which is pretty cool. And it also has some weird blue print dots. So I don't think I've actually seen that before. You see magenta print dots quite a lot on faded cards, but blue print dots is something new for me. But yeah, the coolest thing about the set is that it has a reverse magic cylinder, which it's not that hard to find, but I honestly think this can get a PSA 10 for looking at it. And we also got a reverse Gemini to go with it, which I think is in slightly less good shape, but still very good considering these aren't the easiest reverse foils to find. And then the rest of this is just extras. And I think there's actually another clean magic cylinder hiding somewhere in here. LON is another set where you get a lot of different colors for the unlimited. You get the later reprints from the Tactical Evolution Special Edition. Those have like a completely different color. I don't think we got any of those in here. But even from the OG print, there's like a lot of subtle variations, just some lighter, some darker colors, and things like that. These Dark Spirits are all the uncorrected dark text version. I believe you only get the light text version from that Tactical Evolution reprint. And here's the magic cylinders. Yeah, one more reverse foil. Again, in really nice shape. So that does it for Labyrinth of Nightmare. Next up, we have a massive stack of foils from LOD. I'm not sure how many that is, probably 150-ish. Some first edition. Again, I sleeved the Hades just because I could see right off the bat that it looked like a PSA 10 candidate. Most of this stuff, even if it's clean, obviously it's way off center, as always with LOD, so I'm not going to grade much of it. Pretty much just the Hades. And maybe this Tyrant Dragon as well, because I saw this was clean, but the centering is definitely too OC to get a PSA 10. So that's the end of the first ed. Then we got the Unlimited Complete Set. LOD has never been reprinted, one of the few sets out of the original 11 that they've never put into any of the reprint products. So any Unlimited LOD is just automatically OG print. So yeah, that's the end of that set. They've got a couple more Yadas. Again, I'll definitely sell these because they've gone up a ton since being unbanned. The way I'm going to sell these, by the way, is most likely just going to be with claim sales on Instagram. But I can only sell about 50 at a time like that. So it'll definitely be a bit of a drawn out process getting all of them sold. Probably about 10 to 20 different sales, depending how many cards Instagram lets me post at a time. But one thing I would say is, ideally, please do not contact me about buying like this or that card out of this lot. Because I get a lot of that usually when I post a collection these days. And the bottom line is I just don't have enough time to respond to every single DM about this card and that card. It's much easier for me to kind of just sit down, make a condition and price for every card, post them, and then whoever claims the card gets the card. A couple more lilies, and then yeah, I think it's just supers. Oh no, we got some Tyrant Dragons actually at the back. But yeah, nothing too crazy. This is literally all just like set cards, kind of the most basic standard stuff in the hobby. But I thought it was kind of fun to be able to buy this many in one place. Like check out this stack of PGD hollows again. That's got to be well over 100 hollows. I think we actually have a higher ratio of first ed for these as well. But to be honest, by the time you get to Pharonic Guardian, aside from the good cards in the set, most of these super rares are worth really not a lot of money. Sadly, the Hell Palmer is pretty played, so that's also not going to be gradable or anything like that. But still just cool to hold this many old school foils in one place. This is the kind of thing, like, as a kid, you could just never even imagine having a stack of foils that big. Because if you think about that in terms of how many packs you have to open to get 150 foils, like, probably around 500 packs will be the answer, which is way more than anyone would have been able to open back then. I think this is still the complete unlimited set. Up to there. Is that a reverse foil? Yeah, no, that's a regular foil. Lava Golem, but I think there's some reverses in this pile as well. I think generally by the time you get to PGD, you get a lot fewer misprints on cards than earlier on, like foil shifts and things like that. So I assume I probably won't find anything too crazy on these. The majority of foil shifts come from those earlier sets up to Legacy of Darkness. There we go, there's the reverse Lava Golem. And another one that's regular. Oh, maybe we only had 3. And yeah, that pretty much does it for Pharonic Guardian. So how many sets have we done? We've done 7 of the 11, I think. So I might try and run a bit faster through them now because we're already well past the 20-minute mark. This is Magician's Force, one of the better OG sets, especially in terms of value. The seller didn't have as much of this, but she did have some nice first edition stuff, so I was glad to be able to pick that up. Most of the MFC, from what I could see, is pretty nice and clean, like near mint or better for the most part. These are always off-center, diffusion wave motion. They have that tilted centering pattern, so at the bottom it doesn't look that bad if you just kind of look at it from there and below. But if you single out the top, then the left to right centering looks really bad on them. And now this is the Unlimited MFC. Again, this is one of those sets that's never been reprinted, unless you count Master Collection 2. But that was basically the same time as the OG print anyway, and they didn't print a lot of it. So more or less, you only have original print for MFC, which is why it's one of the more expensive sets to buy in Unlimited. Especially the Dark Magician Girl, which we sadly did not get one of for this collection. But it doesn't have the fail-safe guarantee that Magic Ruler has, because in theory, they can 100% still decide to reprint MFC, you know, in a 20th anniversary or 25th anniversary product or whatever it might be. When you're dealing with Konami, you can never trust them to reprint anything that they literally, you know, can't reprint. So if it's a case of first edition cards, then realistically, they're never going to reprint first edition LOB. But if you're talking about Unlimited, there's nothing that Konami cannot reprint. Some of this Unlimited MFC, I think, is actually gradable from when I was looking over it. I haven't had a proper look, but if it is, I might grade a few of the Ultras like Breaker. Whereas with most of the other sets, realistically, I'm not going to grade anything that's not first ed. I feel like that's something that's changed in the hobby in general in the last few months. well, maybe the last year, since PSA closed down, is sort of which cards you would keep to grade. Because before they shut down the $8 service, you could pretty much keep anything that was remotely, valuable, like even a $2, $3 near mint card. If it looked like it would get a 10, you may as well just keep it, send it in with that $8 bulk service, and then you'll probably make a decent profit if it gets a 10. Whereas now, it looks like even when they reopen bulk, it'll probably still be $20 a card. And the difference between sending something for $8 a card and sending something for $20 a card is significant in terms of the margins of if it gets a 9, if it gets a 10. A lot of these unlimited foils, if you spent $20 to grade them and you didn't get a 10, you'd pretty much be making a loss, especially after shipping and fees and all that stuff you got to factor in, as well as just the time of having, gone through that whole process of getting them graded, waiting for the cards to come back and stuff like that. It just doesn't make sense unless you could guarantee getting a 10. And obviously with PSA, it doesn't even matter how clean the card is. There's never a guarantee that you're going to come back with a gem mint 10, or even a 9 for that matter, depending on the grader you get. So yeah, pretty much all this kind of stuff, even if it's as mint as it gets, it's not worth keeping to grade. So that's DCR done. Obviously no more reverse foils for any of these sets. Pharonic Guardian is the final set, which features reverse foils. At least in North American English, you do actually get Asian English secrets with reverse foils. I believe all the way to Ancient Sanctuary, but I'm not 100% sure. So I put this on the front. Again, I just noticed when I was going through it that the Eye of Anubis wasn't there. It is actually there if you look closely. There's a tiny little imprint right at the bottom. To be honest, that kind of thing on a random unlimited super rare, it's not really going to add any value. I mean, this is probably, maybe it's a $2 card without the misprint, and it's a $5 card or something with it. But it's just cool to see those kinds of misprints on old school cards. So yeah, starting with some first ed IOC. Again, mostly just the supers and like the lower end cards. And then here's the unlimited complete set. I don't think any of the big cards are gradable in this. So I'll probably just sell this as a raw, like near mint unlimited set. But yeah, that's the end of the full set. And then for this, there's not as many cards. There's probably like another 30-ish unlimited extra foils. Mostly just supers and stuff. So yeah, I mean, none of this is stuff that I realistically go out of my way to buy. But because the seller was willing to give me a deal for buying the whole thing, I thought I might as well. So final thing, these are the special edition promos. One thing that's kind of interesting about these, I don't know what the story behind it is that you actually get Silver Eye and Gold Eye of Anubis versions. So in theory, they're limited edition cards. They should be, they should have Gold Eye of Anubises, but most of them, or at least a large number of them, have Silver Eyes of Anubis, and then yeah, the other ones have gold. I say there's a bit of a difference in like the cardstock and the coloration as well. Probably doesn't come up on camera. So I assume it's just two different print runs, but I'm not sure if the Silver Eye versions were on purpose or if it was just a case of them getting the wrong Eye of Anubis, which is probably more likely, to be honest, considering these come with unlimited cards and they're probably printed at the same time as the unlimited cards that went into the packs for the special edition. I assume they just made a mistake and put Silver Eyes of Anubis on the promos as well. Alright, so that's it for IOC. And that means we just have one more set to go through, which is Ancient Sanctuary. This definitely had the cleanest first edition stuff out of any of the sets that I bought. The majority of these first edition holos are pack fresh. To be honest, some of them, like let's say a Legacy Hunter, I mean, I don't know if this particular copy is gradable. It may or may not be. It looks pretty good, to be honest. But like even being a PSA 10 candidate, this card as a PSA 10, I assume is worth like maybe $100. To be honest, it's probably less. It's probably like 60, 70 bucks. So I'm not sure if it's even worth keeping something like that to grade. Obviously, if you want it for your own collection, that's a different question. But in terms of keeping it to resell once it's graded, it's really like borderline with a lot of stuff in old school Yu-Gi-Oh now. With how much the prices have come down in the past 12 to 18 months. Ultras are always worth grading, and secrets as well. But yeah, the super rares are just, they're just really not worth a lot anymore. So this is the unlimited complete set for Ancient Sanctuary. Ancient Sanctuary is a set where I feel that the unlimited is almost just as rare as the first edition. It might depend which region you're in, but like generally when I bought collections, and they've just come with like a mixture of old school foils, there's a lot more first edition AST than unlimited. So that's the end of the complete set. And then we just have a last few extras to go through for this collection. So yeah, definitely a lot of nostalgia, a lot of fun going through all these cards. I've still got a lot of work to do in terms of sorting them out for condition and everything like that. But I hope you guys had some fun going through all of these cards with me. It's not something you get to do often these days, like to go through this many cards from that 2002 to 2004 era, all in one place and mostly in good condition as well. So it's definitely something to savor. Yeah, so with that being said, that pretty much brings us to the end of this video. Leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed it. Remember about the 750 sub Q&A. If you guys have any questions, put them down in the comments below. And yeah, I will see you all in the next video.